All right. Today we're going to have a look at looping for liberty. So I need you to close those lids. Okay? I've had a few people ask me about looping. How do I make something happen more than once? I'm going to show you. There are 3 different ways you can loop in Liberty Basic. There's there's 3. There's 3, okay? And the first one is, the easiest one is the for next. The for next is the same as a repeat a certain number of times. For next simply means do the following so many times. 10 times, 20 times, whatever, right? Scratch was nice and easy. Just repeat 10 times. For and next, same concept. Okay? So, looping. Often you want to make a section of code run more than once. We know that from Scratch. Often we know how many times to do this, or we can get the user to do it. In Scratch, we called that a definite loop, and it's the same thing in Liberty, it's the same thing in Pascal, it's the same thing in C, the same thing in Python, the same thing in Java. It's the same thing. It's a definite loop. Okay? So here you want a counting program. We want the computer to count to 25 because we are lazy. We cannot count to 25. However, we can program the computer to count to 25, so we're not that lazy. Okay? So we're going to count to 25. Okay. This is the syntax. This is the grammar. You're going to write for some variable equals some number 1 to some number 2. Then a bunch of mumbo-jumbo code, and then to end it, you're going to have the next. So the top of the Scratch bracket, this is the for. Okay, and the bottom of the Scratch bracket is represented by the next. And obviously, just like in ifs, we are going to indent so that it sort of creates that bracket sort of shape around it. Okay, Jake has a question.
What do you mean by like variable to number 1 to?
I'm going to show, when you see the example right away, I'll show you. Okay, this is when they give you in a help file, when they give you some sort of syntax, they're going to use generic things like this, and then they'll give you an example. Okay. So this particular bit of code here will execute the code many times, and the number of times is number 2 minus number 1 plus 1. So what I mean is you take this number, subtract that number, and add 1, and that's how many times it goes around.
Can't you just tell it to repeat 13 times?
You could. No, it just doesn't work.
Why?
And the reason for that is, and I'm going to show you why. You'll get it why in a second, okay? So here's an example. If it's for x equals 1 to 10, then it's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times. How do I get 10? 10 minus 1, and then add 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It's going to count 1 to 10.
Why do you bother with the subtraction and addition part?
No, I'm just telling you, if you need to know how many times it goes through, then you have to do it this way.
Oh.
Now, Scratch wouldn't let me start at a different number. It would just go 10 times. It would go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, right? But in Liberty, I can go from 50 to 75. Why would I want to do that? You probably don't if you're just counting, but as your programs become more complex, you might care about counting from 50 to 75. Okay, it might matter, so that's why we're going to use for. So this particular one is going to go 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, all the way up to 75. That's 26 times. 75 minus 50, and then 1 more. Okay? It's a little bit confusing. So this is the main difference between repeat and for count. Scratch just allows to loop a number of times. Liberty allows the loop counter to start at any value, and it also allows you to count backwards, which you can't do in Scratch. You could set up a loop somehow that would work, right? I could go for count equals 10 to 20. So in other words, I count from number to 20. The value of count goes 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and so on. Okay, now the blah, blah, blah is just whatever code you want in there, right? You're not going to type blah, blah, blah. Don't type that. Okay? Don't type blah, blah, blah. It's not going to do anything, right? But make sure that you indent. Okay. So, simple counting program, we want to count to 50. It's going to ask me the question, Hannah, how high do you want me to count? I'm going to say 50, and then it's going to print the numbers 1 to 50. Okay. Pseudocode would be get the number to count to. We're going to call it max count. Then we're going to go for loop from 1 to max count. We're going to display our counter, and then we're going to end our loop. Okay? Let me show you what it looks like. Here's the code. I'd like you to type this in. Obviously, you don't need to type in the documentation. Is that big enough? Can you see it? Okay, so no doubt you've got the counting thing working, I think.
I'm at 177,000.
All right. Okay, so here's the practice assignment. This is not hand in. This is just for practice. Okay. Just going to make it a little bit smaller here. Just practice. So we're going to write a program. I need you guys to watch. I would like you to write a program that will find the sum of all numbers below that value. The sum of all the numbers. The maximum value that it will work should be 10. That's why you have to put in error handling, okay? Because if you say, how high do you want me to count? There's always some nitwit who's going to type in 10 bazillion, right? So your program should say, hey, you nitwit, are you sure you want to do this? This will take approximately 473 years. You may want to reconsider. Okay? So the maximum value that should work should be 10. If it's greater than 10, then the program will not work. Okay, so this is what our practice assignment is going to be. Okay, and there's a couple reasons for this. So I would like it to look like this. Enter a number to find the sum to, a max of 10. Of course, you're going to use an input for this. Okay, you'll notice that there's a counter column that goes 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then the sum of those numbers. 5 plus 4 is 9, plus 3 is 12, plus 2 is 14, plus 1 is 15. It's the sum of all the numbers. Okay, watch please, watch. It should look something like this. Enter the number to find the sum to. If you say something like silly like 11, it's going to say, hey, too bad, no worky. I said 10 or less.
Hey, I said less.
If you want to count backwards, now this is a valuable thing to know. How to count backwards. You're going to write for count equals 4 to 1, but then you have to include step minus 1. How much you count by. You can actually count 2, 4, 6, 8. Thank you, someone always says it. You can count by 3s, you can count by 4s, you can count by 10s, you can count by whatever you want, as long as you put that in after your step. Okay, so it's a little bit more powerful than Scratch, where it just says how many times you want to loop. Okay, so you can count backwards. Okay, with a step minus 1. Okay, now I need to talk to you about what I call an accumulator. Real important here, Hannah. Okay, we did things in Scratch like change the player total by 1. It means take whatever the player total is. If they've caught 5 balls, change it by 1. Now he's caught 6, right? Or he's got 6 points or whatever. Okay, I would call this an accumulator. It's a variable that adds a value to itself. How to do it in Liberty? You go x equals x plus 1. So the new value of x is the old value of x plus 1. The new value of x is equal to the old value of x plus 1. In other words, add 1 to x. That's all it means. Just add 1 to x. Okay? You could have something like total equals total plus value. Total equals total plus value. So if the old value of total was 100, right? And the value of value is 150, then the new value of total is 100 plus 150, 250. Okay, it adds on and it restores it. Okay, that's called an accumulator. Okay, here's the sum of numbers program. Go ahead, type this in. I'll make this bigger for you. It would appear that you have got it sort of figured out. It's important, you'll notice, I just want to point out a couple things here. It's important that this if and that else and that end if are all lined up. It's important that that for and that next are lined up. When you look at this, you can see what's inside these things. Okay, so the first thing is an input. Enter a number to find the sum to. We're going to call it max count. If max count is bigger than 10, then say, hey, I said less than 10, too bad. If it's not bigger than 10, then you're okay and you can go ahead and do it. We're going to print count, and sum. You'll notice that we print the count and the sum, the title headings, outside the loop because we only want to print them once. And then we're going to go for count equals max count to 1, step minus 1. We're counting backwards. And then we're going to say sum equals sum plus count. The value of sum is the old value of sum plus the new value of count. And we're going to print count and sum. All right. Okay? Let's talk about the in-between project. Okay. If we go back to our pseudocode, just watch. Stop what you're doing and just watch. Okay, so the pseudocode said from way back, Quinn, I need you to watch. You'll get a chance. We were going to print the instructions. We were going to get the bankroll. We're going to determine the ante and print it. We've done that already, right? Now we determine if we're going to play, and you have to loop. You have to loop many times, okay? So now we're going to set up our loop in our project.
Cool.
Okay? So I would like you to open up in between version 3. You should have something called in between version 3 saved. I want you to add a for next loop that allows you to play the game 10 times. Okay? Add a for next loop that allows you to play the game 10 times. Also add that when you win your bet times 2. You should get your bet times 2 back. If you lose, you need to subtract the bet. And you also need to subtract the ante at the start because you have to pay to play. So you got lots of things to do here. You have to set up a loop, Quinn. I'll get to you in a second.
No question with that.
You need to set up a loop that runs 10 times. You need to add that when you win your bet times 2. Losing loses your bet, and you have to pay the ante at the start. I'm thinking that's going to take you the rest of the period to work on that.
Well,
Tomorrow, I will show you what hand-in number 5 assignment is. Okay?
you need your help.
Try it first, Hannah.
No, but I-
That is the end of today. I will show you how hand-in number 5 goes tomorrow.
How do you